Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive, and I'm joined here by our Deputy County Executive, Ken Jenkins, to celebrate the return of the semifinals and the finals of Westchester, well, actually Section 1 high school basketball for both boys and girls, playing the playoffs, the final two rounds of the playoffs, the semifinals and the finals, where it belongs, right here in Westchester County Center. We're standing on the floor that the Westchester Knicks play on, which is a top-level quality floor. We have housed in this building not only the Westchester Knicks, but the New York Liberty for 2 years, as well as the professional WNBA team. And I'm joined by people who grew up in Westchester County and had terrific careers in high school sports, or as we would say, had game. And they performed that game right here on this floor in different eras. This is a great victory today, and I want to thank Section 1 Executive Director Todd Santa Barbara, because he couldn't join us today, but he was a key element in us being able to do the negotiations to get the finals back in. We have had the semifinals here the last 2 years, and that was a touch-and-go proposition, but now that we have the finals back here again, we're going to get a chance to see the full Section 1 playoffs here. And we also want to thank Kathy O'Connor, who's Commissioner of Parks, Recreation, and Conservation, and her team for putting together the negotiations. There are logistics that go into making sure that this happens, and some concessions made, but for the sake of the players, for the sake of the parents, for the sake of the coaches, and for all the fans, this is where it should be. I've mentioned many times how proud I am that I grew up on the south side of Mount Vernon, and I went to Mount Vernon High School. Admittedly, 50 years ago this year, wasn't yesterday. But I must say, growing up in Mount Vernon, basketball, you'd see all sports played, football, baseball, a hockey team, you have wrestling, and there was even a golf team in Mount Vernon High School and whatnot. But I pretty much realized that the sport of Mount Vernon is basketball. I call it the religion. And I realized that I flat out did not have game. Couldn't jump, couldn't shoot, couldn't pass. Just about everything you didn't need. And the way it worked in Mount Vernon is if you had game, you could play at the 4th Street Playground. You could play at Hartley Park. If you didn't have game, there was a little basketball court down on Grove Street, Bleecker and South Bleecker and South High, and they'd say, I think what you want to do, George, they'd say it's quite this way, is go down there and play at Grove Street and work on your game. But I worked on a different game, and that's why I'm back here as county executive. So we all have our talents. But I had the great pleasure when I was an underclassman of seeing Bill Pleas play. And later in my career, my life, I had a chance to see the great Lowe's Moore play. And Lowe's is helping the people of Mount Vernon right now in all of his work at the Boys and Girls Club in Mount Vernon. But over the years, Lowe's was able to make the NBA. Classmates of mine like Rudy Hackett made it to the ABA. The great Gus Williams, the late great Ray Williams. Later on, Ben Gordon. My friend Earl Tatum, who I played baseball with. I didn't play that very well either, but at least I got to play that sport. And Earl went on to Marquette and to the Lakers and some other teams at the professional level. But it's not just Mount Vernon. Jim Bostic standing behind me here, Mount Vernon was the enemy in those days. But as you can see, and he is still serving the Yonkers community, Nepperhan Community Center. He is Dr. Jim Bostic to me now. But his playing days were terrific. And Stefanie Svoboda, who is here as well, and Patrice Wallace-Moore also played from the female side of it. And I think today we're seeing that women's basketball is getting the respect that it deserves. There's a professional league, and we follow it as fans as well, as we did here. And both of them in their day were outstanding players that played on this floor. So we're really excited that all of these folks are here and that they've shared that NBA experience with us here. There are other former NBAers, Elton Brand, who I believe was Peekskill, and then went on to play in the NBA. There's a number of other players that have had that success. But it's not just if your skills took you to Division I basketball or on to professional. The discipline of learning a sport like basketball, to play it well, you begin to realize what the team element of the game is and how you have to discipline yourself and how you have to be physically fit to do that. Those lessons are learned for the rest of your life. And many of the people that played on this court at a certain level of high school basketball did not go on to the NBA, but they went on to successful careers. They went on to be men and women who achieved in life because of what they learned through the discipline of sports and playing sports at a certain level. And the coaches that helped them see that. And it was important, and speaking just for myself, and I don't know if Bill or Lowe's want to chime in, they're each going to get a chance to say a few words. growing up where I did on the south side of Mount Vernon, the greatest problem was overcoming the self-esteem, that you could make something of yourself, that you would matter, and that you could fight through certain things. Now, there's certainly a tougher mountain to climb if you're a person of color. There's a mountain to climb if you're female. The society tilts itself against you, and you have to be even better in order to get the respect you deserve. But so many people, like my friends here, came through that process, and for them, basketball was one of the key things that helped get them here, and their faith tradition, and their family, and their friends, supportive friends around you, not friends who take you in the wrong direction. All of those things are at play when we see basketball played here. Now, in the semifinal round, we don't know who's going to be in the finals, although I have my opinions, as you might imagine. I'm going to predict the Mount Vernon Knights, and I also have to predict the Rye Garnets, too, because now I've lived in Rye a long, long time. And, Mount Vernon has representation in these playoffs, and Rye has both boys and girls in their respective class in this. And I just want to mention how many other communities will have teams playing in either boys or girls. Tuckahoe boys and girls will perform here. Hastings girls and boys here. Briarcliff girls, Irvington girls, Valhalla boys, Dobbs Ferry boys, Westlake boys, Ursuline girls, obviously. Hen Hudson guys are playing here. Harrison, and I like Harrison, but they are the arch enemy of Rye. They'll be here too. Harrison Huskies, a great tradition, great rivalry with Rye. Horace Greeley is going to be here. And then, of course, the most bittersweet of all, the New Rochelle Huguenots. I have represented New Rochelle for over 15 years in public office. Never represented Mount Vernon until I got elected county executive. And a couple of years ago, New Rochelle had a last-minute fabulous shot that beat Mount Vernon. So the New Rochelle team comes to the state Senate and is honored by the New York State Senate. And I co-represented New Rochelle with Andrea Stewart-Cousins. And she, of course, got up and praised the team, which they deserved. And I got up and I said, this is the most bittersweet moment of my governmental life, because I want to praise the young men from New Rochelle for winning, but I'm a Mount Vernon Knight at heart, and it was tough to take. But nonetheless, all of those communities are going to be here over the next number of days, 10 days, whatever long it takes to get to the finals. And that's what makes Westchester come alive, is the fan, the competition, and the sense of accomplishment. And because these folks who are behind me now have gone on with the rest of their lives, they do other things, but their memories of this moment on this floor can never be taken away from them. And not just what they accomplished when they were on the floor, but what they've done with the rest of their lives because of the discipline and the dedication that they gave to this sport. So I'd like to ask each of these people to say a few words, and we'll go in this direction. I'll ask the great Moore to come up and share a few thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Latimer. I want to first give this shirt, since he's from Mount Vernon.
All right. I hope it's big enough for me. Yeah. I gain weight.
It's a double X, so
now we're good.
It's a big double X. But I wanted to give him that on behalf of the boys basketball team in the city of Mount Vernon. I want to say thank you for the opportunity to be here. Every time I come into the county center, I get a flashback. I was a little 10-year-old, 11-year-old kid who played in the recreation with 3 courts, playing this way, always dreaming about playing that way. I never did, as a little kid, get a chance to play that way until I got to Mount Vernon High School. And, of course, we won the championship, and I got a chance to play on the big floor. And I had an opportunity with Coach Cimino for 5 years, first 5 years that he won the county, to win 5 championships with Coach Cimino, so as a coach. And so for me, this is a family thing. My wife is here. She won the first women's state championship. They won here. My daughter, Sherelle, won a championship here. And my daughter, Michelle, was a cheerleader during those championships. So for me, this is a proud moment. I didn't mind going to Pace, but I prefer being here, because this is like our home away from home, and I'm excited that it's back here, and thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you, both. Thank you very much. Next, Dr. Jim Bostic.
So coming back here to the county center for me is such an incredible experience. Growing up in the city of Yonkers, not from Mount Vernon, but still playing basketball all of my life. And for all of us in Yonkers, We played ball in the city of Yonkers, but we never got outside of the city. We went to school, we stayed in our respective communities, so our life evolved around basically a 4 or 5 block radius growing up. So the thought of being a high school player and coming to the Westchester County Center, we thought we had died and gone to heaven when we had an opportunity to play here in the county center, and then to go on and to win the Section 1 as a high school player that year that Mount Vernon didn't win. Was the greatest thrill of my life. I mean, from that game, I can honestly say that I played in this building. I probably got over 200 scholarships to any college I wanted to go to in the country from this building. And years later, I've had the opportunity to be a high school coach at New Rochelle High School. That year we beat Mount Vernon again and won the Section 1 championship. But the only thing about that year when we did win the Section 1 championship, there were some negotiation issues and we had to go to Pace to win. And I have to tell you, that was one of the greatest disappointments for my players in New Rochelle, was the fact that they had heard so much about the county center, and now we were in a position to play here, and there were negotiation issues, and it forced us to go to Pace. We won at Pace, but it was not the same. It didn't feel the same. And then years later, I coached a group of young men from Leake & Watts High School. And we came here, and these young men come from very, very difficult backgrounds. And so for them to come into the county center and to win back-to-back championships, I never saw a group of young men so excited in all my life. And so I salute the head of Section 1, the Department of Parks and Rec, and of course our County Executive George Latimer and his staff for coming together and making this a reality, because this is an experience that young men, as the County Executive alluded to, next year will be my 50th anniversary from graduating from high school as well. But 50 years later, I can remember the night that I won the championship here as a high school player, just like it happened yesterday. That's the kind of impact that this place has on high school players. So again, I applaud the leadership for making this happen. It's going to bring great, great memories to so many high school players, and I can't wait to see the high school championships here at the County Center again. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Stefanie Svoboda, who played at Ossining.
Short. I just want to say thank you for having me here, and a big thank you to Coach Ricky, who led us here countless times right after they lost to Mount Vernon. Sparked our, I think, 10-year run. So that was awesome. I still remember in 2014, Ossining, we had no seniors on our team after graduating Sanaya's class, who had 10 seniors, and no one thought we were going to be back here, maybe ever, possibly. And it was great, like one of the best feelings ever, to come back and win on this court when no one thought we would. And so for the last 4 years, I played at Pace D2, and I was there watching the final sectional games, and you could just tell that it wasn't the same as playing on the county center court. And I mean, Pace did a great job hosting it. It's a great facility, but nothing will ever beat playing here and holding up the gold ball and winning that gold ball here on the county center floor. So, yeah.
Thank you, Stefanie. Patrice Wallace-Moore.
Good afternoon. I want to thank the county executive for allowing me to say a few words, and for all those legends that are standing behind me. This is a surreal moment for me. The first time I came into County Center, I was about 7 years old. Mount Vernon High School was playing, and that's when my cousin Gary Tern-Johnson was on the team with Gus Williams and some of the others. Then years later, around 12 years old, I came back. It was the first time I saw a young athletic guy from Mount Vernon High School doing a slam dunk contest against Andre Battles from Yonkers. Little did I know many years later that I would marry that individual. But I caught wind of him at the age of 12 years old, and I think he was probably 17 at the time. But it's a surreal moment for me to come back later on as a player and to play. Mount Vernon High School, we did win New York State's first girls high school state championship for public high school state championship with a 25-0 record. Being here was just a powerful experience. We didn't play in County Center that year. But I came back as a coach many years later. My desire was to help teach young ladies how to be successful, not just on the court, but off the court. And in my time here, we had, as a coach, I had 5 times to be here. We won 2 in a row, and as Stefanie said, we won in 2009, 2010, and then after that, Dan Rickey lost his mind and decided not to let anybody else win for Ossining. I do love the decor, the burgundy decor. It really makes the building look very homey for me, so I really enjoy that. But Mount Vernon has had the experience here for the boys, and I absolutely enjoy being here. I think I actually posted something on Facebook the other day that said the championship needs to be back here. So I am excited to be able to support all of the teams that are coming back. I'm excited to have seen the years that the County Center has had a championship here. The year that I lost, my first or second year here as a coach, was probably the largest crowd for a girls basketball game when we played against Ossining, and we lost in, I believe, double overtime. And Dan Rickey slid across the floor in the middle of the floor and on his stomach, and just because he had waited for a long time to win a championship. And even though that hurt my heart, it reminded me of what I needed to do to get to the next level. And so my chance came a few years later. But I want to let you know that there's nothing better than being here on this court. And yes, I love what the county exec said about after basketball. What is it? When I look in my girls' eyes that played for me, and I see lawyers and people in med school and people that are nurses and people that are business and college coaches, I know that that's what I was meant to do. I didn't want to win a championship. I wanted to make champion women, and the championship was the cherry on top. So I had a chance to have 2 cherries. Excited about it being back here, and looking forward to seeing what the county center is going to bring forth in the next couple of weeks. Excitement's going to fill White Plains. So this is our Madison Square Garden. Westchester County's Madison Square Garden is right here at the county center. So we're looking forward to seeing what great things are going to happen here. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrice. Great Bill Pleas. Come on over, man.
I really don't
The first guy I ever remember seeing play great ball.
I'm just a volunteer coach at the Mount Vernon Boys and Girls Club, and I'm dabbling with most of the players that can't make the high school team, but I was one of them. So I know that if you just don't limit yourself, you can play here one day, as I did. And I'm just hoping I can help inspire them, motivate them to get to this place. And I can only reiterate how it feels to win a championship here. And I really don't have anything else to say. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Kathy O'Connor is our Commissioner of Parks and Recreation. She's the person who headed the team that got this done.
Thank you very much. It really is much more important to say the leadership of the County Executive George Latimer. He led the way in getting Section 1 basketball back here. Needless to say, we wanted it back, but we needed the county executive and the administration to support our efforts. We look forward to working with Todd Santa Barbara. He is the new executive director of Section 1. And I have to say, the county center staff, as well as our parks department, we are so excited that it's back here. We love it. As somebody just mentioned, as Patrice just mentioned, this is our Madison Square Garden, and we just completed a large capital project, a $5 million project to enhance the lighting and the sound system here. The floor has just been redone, the floor that you're standing on, and yes, the chairs are maroon, but they also represent Valhalla and Iona, Ossining, so we're kind of like Switzerland here. But again, thank you to the county executive. Thank you to the people behind me. I love basketball. My family has played basketball, and we can't wait to get started this afternoon. We run straight through till Sunday, March 8th, unless there's snow, March 9th. But it looks like we'll be here till Sunday, March 8th. So thank you for all your efforts in putting this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Now I want a deputy county executive to say a few words. This man does have game. Go ahead. I ain't playing him one-on-one.
Well, it depends on what Lowe's would say. He would say that my defensive game is awesome, and there's no question from a team perspective. But I still have to work on that shot, and I don't know if Lowe's is going to ever be able to help me on that. The fact of the matter is, as we've all been talking about, this is the mecca for basketball here in Westchester County. It is so great because of the county executive's leadership. I'm fortunate enough to be part of the team to be able to look and see how it happened. And it was from day one, before we actually even came into office, the county executive was focused on trying to make sure to resolve the problems here with Section 1. And we were able to do that because of his leadership, because of Joe McDonald, who's not here with us today, and Kathy O'Connor and all of the staff together working with Section 1. We responded to an RFP, and at the end of the day, the selection was back here at the county center. I know, and I've had the privilege of knowing almost all these folks individually. I mean, Patrice and I lived on the same block in Mount Vernon on one end, on the other end, and saw her and her sister and her dad and mom and her family, and all the great things that happened there. Lowe's dunked on me somewhere in Tuckahoe, in Columbus Park. You know something? That's the kind of memories that you have here from the county center. And Jim Bostic, big brother Jim, I never got a chance to play with him individually, but because of his mentorship, because of all the outstanding work that he's done, his professional career. But as everyone has stated, the importance of not just the basketball that's played here, but the memories that get made, the interactions that get made here. You know, some of the people that play on this court will never go to the upper levels. They won't play in college. They won't play professionally. But they remember that time that they were on this court, and no matter which division that they happen to participate in. That's the kind of thing that the county center, the mecca of basketball, as Patrice said, and is so important. And yes, I do remember getting dunked on, right? But I was up with him anyway, right? He just had a much flashier, as you said, his dunk game was awesome, and it still is when he wants to do that. But that's why we're back here, because of the leadership of the County Executive Latimer, and for all of the folks working together with Section 1. It's going to be an outstanding tournament, and we look forward to folks coming out, watching, and seeing all of the great basketball that happens, both for our women and for the men, the boys and the girls, to make sure that they come out and see everyone do that. So with so much excitement, I don't know if we can change the colors of the chairs. We'll work on that in the next capital project. All right, thanks a lot, Mr. County Executive.
Well, Ken, at least you got dunked on by an NBA player. I got dunked on by a guy who's selling automobiles for a living. So what are you going to do? Obviously, the most important stories to be told are the stories in the games that are coming from our friends who will cover the sports side of this. You'll see all the drama you want to see in high school basketball. You see the emotion of young people who will have the same feeling that each of these people talked about. And this is part of what Westchester is. We've had in the last few days press conferences to deal with the serious issue of the coronavirus and what is our response to it. We had a press conference to talk about the airport. What's our visionary master planning for that? We've talked about how we're going to try to extend reusable bags to everybody out there to deal with the fact that we have to have an environmentally sensitive way to go to the grocery store every day. And on issue after issue, we're going to try to be exactly where we think the people of Westchester are, and that's because that's our job, not because it's fancy, not because we're great, but this is what we've signed on to do, and we want to do it as well as we can. And in this particular case, being able to make sure that these high school athletes are here in this arena is our job, and I'm very happy that Kathy and her team are able to accomplish this, and I'm very happy to see some of my friends here, and we're going to see more friends. We're going to make new friends when you come back for the sport here. So I think probably the best thing to do is, if you want any one-on-one interviews with any of these folks, that's probably the more interesting story than anything I have to say. I want to thank our communications team for coming in the sweatshirts that reflect the teams that they root for now. I happen to know that Catherine Chaffee's kids go to Ossining School, but she is a Pleasantville High School graduate. So just like me, I'm going for the Rye Garnets in that class, Mount Vernon Knights in that class, and we can root for a lot of good people. So anyway, thank you for your time. And again, I invite you to have one-on-one interviews with these great folks behind me. Thank you. Have a great day. Thanks.